Welcome. Welcome to A Taste of Justice series, and I am Professor Angela Mae Kupenda. If this is the first video you're watching in the series, I hope you go back and look at the introductory clip. It will explain to you why I call it A Taste of Justice and who it is geared for. In summary, it's geared for you, whether you includes those who are seeking more justice in our society and for us to live up to the preamble of our Constitution, or for you, meaning my students who are currently enrolled in my courses this semester, or for you, it means those who like to argue and to debate about the direction of this country. You know, learning is key. So if you're going to argue that you have certain constitutional rights, it's a good thing to know whether likely you do or do not. So this clip is for all of us. So for A Taste of Justice for today, well, for this clip, we're going to take just a little taste of constitutional law. We're going to begin with a concept called state action. State action. State action is a term of art. Now, we'll talk later about where that concept comes from, but for now, I want you to know that originally our Constitution was designed to create a national government and to limit the national government. But then around the time after the Civil War, and we all know about that, and I would just add that I was born in Mississippi, and currently I teach at Mississippi College School of Law. All views expressed here are my own, all interpretations are my own, and not to be ascribed necessarily to my institution. I give my institution's name only for identification purposes. Now, after the Civil War, of course, it was recognized that not only could the federal government intrude on individual rights and liberties, but also state governments, especially in terms of formerly enslaved individuals and their desire to be part of we the people under the Constitution. So this idea is that generally our constitutional rights, our individual liberties, our individual freedoms may be asserted where there is state action, generally only then. But there are some exceptions we'll talk about later. So what is state action? Well, if you want to give a speech at a governmental plaza, and one speaker is allowed to speak because of their message, but when you come to do your speech, government says, no, we don't agree with what you have to say. Well, then that's governmental action, it appears. But what if I invite someone to my home to sit, we have coffee, and I want to hear them speak, and they do. And then the next week, you say, I want to come and speak at your home. And I say, I don't want to hear you. Have I violated your rights of speech? No, I have not, because I'm not the government. I'm not a state actor. There is no state action. And where there is no state action, generally there is no constitutional violation, no violation of individual rights and freedoms. So let me give you a few hypotheticals. Let's say, for example, you go to the courthouse, and at the courthouse you want to dine in the restaurant that is there in the courthouse run by the government. You are denied access there because of your gender. Is that state action? Is the government violating your equal protection rights? Probably so. But let's say that there's a different building. Let's say the government owns a huge building, but then it leases out certain parts of the building. It leases out one small corner to a restaurant. The restaurant is privately owned. Access to the restaurant is from the outside of the building, not through the governmental area. The rent is paid to the government though, and the amount of rent depends on the profit of the business. So let's say this restaurant wants to deny you access because of the color of your skin. Is that state action or is that private action? Now, if that's private action, then there's no constitutional violation. If that is state action, then you're well on your way to showing a violation of equal protection under the laws, under our Constitution. Now, let me give you another one. Let's say that there is a business, and they say, we want to not just have the business where people work, we want to also set up like a town-like setting, so people can ride their bikes to work. They have the town, the company has houses there that they rent out to the employees. There are grocery stores for the convenience of the employees. They even have a post office there for the convenience of the employees. So now let's say someone comes to what looks like a town, it looks like the government. They come there and they want to distribute some type of religious literature. And the company's security officers say, not here. We don't allow that here. And the person distributing the literature said, I have a First Amendment religious right, freedom of expression, all of that. And so therefore you violate my rights. But the town says, no, we're not, because this is a private town. There's no state action here. It may look like a town, but it's not a town. So therefore we do not have to protect any types of rights under the Bill of Rights. So was there state action there? Let me give you one more. Let's say that we have a situation where there is a neighborhood and the people who live in the neighborhood, they know each other. They create an agreement, a private agreement, a private contract that they would not sell to people who are not white. And then one day someone wants to move. They sell, here's someone with money, they want to pay. The seller doesn't care that they're Black. They sell the house to Black people. And now the other neighbor said, we have a private agreement. Under our private agreement, you cannot move in. And the other neighbors go to the court and say, enforce our private agreement. They cannot move in. So if the court enforces that private agreement, is that state action? Remember, if it's not state action, there is no constitutional violation. Let me give you another one. This is a sad story also, but it's true. It's out of a case called the Cheney versus Winnebago County, also called the Poor Joshua case. So little Joshua, a little boy, the court gives custody of Joshua to his father. And then over time, there seemed to be some mysterious types of injuries to little Joshua's body. The social workers are alerted by neighbors. He goes to the emergency room, all kinds of things, but they remove little Joshua from his father for a little while, but they restore him to the father. This goes back and forth. Then after a while, little Joshua is severely injured by his father, okay? And just severely injured, with injuries also to his brain. So was Joshua's constitutional rights violated? Now, some would say the injuries were the hand of the father, and others would say, but the state set up the system. So what the state did here was the state did not directly hit Joshua, but the state was inactive. The state failed to act. So is the failure to act state action? I have some more for you, but I think I'll save them for later. For those of you who are enrolled in my course, Constitutional Law, you have lots of reading to do. You're going to read all of those cases in your package, right? You better. I'm going to call on you in class on Zoom. And so I want you to read, to think about these hypotheticals, think about this concept of state action that sort of acts as a bar to asserting the individual right. And in what types of contexts is the state involved enough to say that a constitutional right has been violated by the state? Now, for those of you who are not enrolled in my class, then what I want you to do is to go ahead and subscribe, go ahead and get notifications, because I'll do a next clip, and that next clip will respond to those hypotheticals and tell you what the court ruled. For the students in my classes, you watch that clip after you do the reading, okay? You do that reading first. And then in take 3 of state action, we're going to go deeper. We're going to go back in time to see where does this concept come from. Then we're going to go deeper in terms of looking at perhaps some justifications for the court's rulings and what the consequences were. We're going to go back to the late 1800s. Now, you know, when we go back that far, we're going to walk right into the concept. We're going to walk right into the topic of race. And so that's why it's preserved for take 3. Hope you'll be ready for it. Okay, subscribe, sign up for notifications, think about state action. If you're in my class, you go and read now. For those of you who are not, go on to the next clip. Okay, thank you. This is A Taste of Justice with Professor Angela Mae Kupenda. Thank you. Goodbye.